Tonight we continue our ongoing series about China and how it has subtly expanded its power and reach into parts of American life you never would have expected. Our leaders oblivious, of course, as they fuss over the Russia threat. Well, one growing player in the television market is a company called Hisense. It's owned by the Chinese government. It sells high-definition smart TVs. You may have seen their ads on the air during the World Cup. Like most smart TVs, Hisense televisions have microphones in their remotes. They're designed to work with voice-operated programs like Alexa from Amazon or Google Assistant. Hisense's privacy policy gives it the right to collect the names and addresses of its users. That's your personal data potentially going directly to the hands of the Chinese government. It's not outlandish. They could use these televisions for espionage. WikiLeaks revelations last year showed that the CIA has already developed the ability to spy through smart televisions. If they can do it with private TVs, China could easily do it with televisions made by them. At least a few people are worried about this. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida told this show he is, quote, definitely concerned about Hisense's espionage threat. So far, not many others seem to be paying attention. How worried should we be about this? Michael Pillsbury is the director for Chinese strategy at Hudson Institute. He's the author of perhaps the single best book on the emerging China threat, The 100-Year Marathon, China's Secret Strategy to Replace America as the Global Superpower. Dr. Pillsbury joins us tonight. Dr. Pillsbury, thanks a lot for coming on. This is one of those topics that's so outlandish sounding, you almost risk being called a nut bringing it up, but it's real.
Right.
Should we be concerned about this?
I think so. Part of it has to do, Tucker, with the underestimation of Chinese technology. Who would have thought, 20 or 30 years ago, that China could have this kind of a television that could eavesdrop on basically millions of Americans in their living rooms? I think we've not taken China very seriously, and we're going to have a number of surprises. Probably in the coming year. This is one of them. They've got a full court press now on the espionage front, trying to understand why President Trump is putting these tariffs on them tomorrow.
Right.
They don't understand that. They've been reassured by their friends in America this could never happen. Now it happens in about another 6 hours. So this is a cause for a great intelligence collection by the Chinese.
So if we're concerned about the threat of espionage from having Chinese-made TVs in our homes, what about the fact that China has made a lot of the architecture of our internet in the United States?
That's an even worse problem, frankly. And it's one explanation for why the Defense Department forbids DoD employees from buying Chinese cell phones. Has to do with the discovery many years ago that China was targeting our military and learning our military weaknesses, sometimes through open collection. They would even ask, I remember there's a very famous story now that an American admiral was on an aircraft carrier, Chinese delegation came in, they asked him, what's the weakest point of your aircraft carrier? And as a friendly guy, this is a friendly exchange program, he said, well, the skin of the aircraft carrier on the very bottom is very thin. We're protected well against the sides from cruise missile attack. And we store all of our bombs down there. So if the thin skin on the bottom would be exploded, we would lose all the ammunition on the carrier. The Chinese then bought a torpedo from the Russians that goes under the carrier, turns up, and explodes on that thin skin. So you see the level of trust is very high in visiting Chinese delegations. So we openly have been revealing our own problems and weaknesses to them in the trade area as well as the military area. This whole idea that China is our friend, our best friend in some ways in the whole world, this has been pushed for about 30 or 40 years since the Nixon-Kissinger opening. And I think slowly President Trump is trying to turn the corner and talk about them as competitors, about to surpass us. In the size of their economy. But there's so many parts of this that I'm really glad you've been doing this series on what I would call the China Challenge.
I hate to think that American business executives have sold out their own country in their dealings with China, but it sounds in some cases like they have.
Objectively, yes, but that's not how they see it. Since they've been told by so many pro-China books that China is our friend and we have to cooperate, they don't see a kind of competition or rivalry going on. That's my best explanation. I don't think they're traitors. They're just basically ignorant about what China is up to.
How could anyone ever believe that China was our friend? That's like carbs make you thin. It's self-evidently stupid.
Well, suppose Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, several presidents in a row all said China is our friend. Wouldn't that go a long way toward excusing businessmen from being more protective of their technology? I'll give you some good news. Just recently, the House of Representatives, 400-2, approved cracking down on Chinese investment coming into America that's targeted on our high-tech or national security industries. This is very good news. Passed the Senate by a very strong majority, too. So actions beginning to be taken by the Congress. Whether this will be enough in time to sort of choke off what the Chinese have already obtained from us in terms of high-tech and intelligence secrets, I don't know.
But your book has done more than any document to wake people up to the threat, so I'm grateful for that.
This book's been heavily criticized, Tucker, as too alarmist, and I'm not a friend of China like I used to be, so keep that in mind.
Well, you're a Chinese speaker, and you know what you're talking about, and this book is true, it turns out. Michael Pillsbury, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Once again.